Karen called cops as I reclaimed my cabin, then cried when I dissolved her HOA in court. The sheriff's cruiser screeched to a halt outside my family's cabin, its red and blue lights slicing through the dusk. Karen Whitaker, in her pristine fur-lined coat and gaudy gold earrings, stood on my porch, arms crossed, smirking like she'd already won. "You're trespassing, Daniel," she spat, her voice dripping with venom. "This land belongs to the HOA now." My fists clenched. That cabin, built by my grandfather's hands, was my sanctuary, a place of memories, of quiet summers by the lake. Now, Karen claimed it was community property, because of some obscure HOA clause she'd twisted to her advantage. I'd come to reclaim what was mine, but Karen had called the cops before I could even unlock the door. The sheriff, a tired man named Harris, sighed as he approached. "Let's sort this out, folks." Karen's smug grin widened. She thought she had me cornered. I'd been away for years, building a life in the city, but the cabin was my anchor. When I inherited it after Dad passed, I found out Karen, self-appointed queen of the Pine Hollow HOA, had been eyeing it. She'd formed the HOA to beautify the rural community, but it was a power grab. She'd bullied neighbors into compliance, slapped fines on anyone who dared plant a non-approved flower, and now she'd set her sights on my land. Her latest stunt? Declaring my cabin abandoned and seizing it for community use. She'd already torn down my grandmother's rose garden and smashed the hand-carved fence Dad built. I'd seen the wreckage when I arrived, an act of pure spite. But Karen didn't know I'd come prepared with more than just a key. As Sheriff Harris listened to Karen's tirade about property rights, I pulled out a folder of documents, deeds, letters, and photos proving the cabin was mine, free and clear. Karen's eyes narrowed. "Those are fake," she snapped. But Harris raised a hand, reading through my evidence. Then, a twist. An old man shuffled forward from the gathering crowd of neighbors. It was Mr. Ellis, a reclusive widower who'd lived on the lake for decades. "I saw her do it," he said, voice trembling but firm. "Karen came at night with a crowbar, smashed the fence, ripped up the roses. Said she'd make this place her summer office." The crowd gasped. Karen's face twitched, her confidence cracking. Ellis, who rarely spoke, had been watching her reign of terror for years. His testimony was a bombshell, and I saw doubt creep into Harris's eyes as he turned to Karen. Karen's composure shattered. "He's lying," she shrieked, pointing at Ellis. "He's senile." But the neighbors murmured, their resentment bubbling up. They'd had enough of her fines, her threats, her endless rules. I seized the moment. "Sheriff, this isn't just about my cabin," I said. "Karen's HOA is a sham. She's been extorting everyone here." I handed Harris a second folder, months of research showing the HOA's bylaws were illegally enforced, its formation riddled with forged signatures. Karen's face went pale. She lunged for the folder, but Harris stepped back, his jaw tight. "Ma'am, you need to calm down," he said. The crowd closed in, their anger palpable. Karen, cornered, screamed, "You can't do this. I run this place." But her voice was drowned out by the neighbors' shouts. One woman, Mrs. Carter, yelled, "You fine me $500 for my dog's barking." Another man added, "You threatened to take my shed." The air crackled with defiance. Karen's downfall came swiftly. Harris, now convinced, escorted her off my property as she hurled insults, her designer heels sinking into the mud. I filed a lawsuit the next day, not just for my cabin but to dissolve the HOA entirely. In court, Karen tried to play the victim, sobbing about her vision for the community. But the judge wasn't swayed. My evidence was ironclad. The HOA's formation violated state law, and Karen's actions vandalism, fraud, intimidation painted her as a tyrant. Mr. Ellis testified again, his quiet courage stealing the room. Neighbors packed the courtroom, each sharing stories of Karen's abuse. The judge ruled in my favor, dissolving the HOA and ordering Karen to pay restitution for the damage to my cabin. As the gavel fell, Karen collapsed into her chair, mascara streaking down her face, her empire of fear reduced to nothing. Standing on my cabin's porch weeks later, I watched the lake shimmer under the morning sun. The roses were gone, but I'd plant new ones. The fence could be rebuilt. The neighbors, free from Karen's grip, started talking again, sharing tools and stories like they used to. Mr. Ellis even stopped by with a jar of homemade jam, a small gesture that felt like a victory. Karen had moved away, her name now a cautionary tale in Pine Hollow. I'd reclaimed more than my cabin. I'd helped restore a community. Sometimes, standing up to a bully doesn't just save your own home. It sparks a fire others can rally behind. What do you think? When is it right to fight back, and when should we let go? Share your thoughts.